What's up, guys? It is JZNES back again with another video. Today, here we are to talk about some Dragon Quest VI finally. I'm not even wearing the slime hat. Here it is. To talk about some Dragon Quest VI finally. It doesn't even deserve the slime hat. Because as everyone knows, if you've seen any videos of me talking about this game, this is the worst Dragon Quest game possible. And it has no redeeming qualities, and it's way too hard for its own good, etc., etc. Which, you know, isn't actually true. But it sure felt like it for the longest time. And I think I needed a Dragon Quest that was kind of the one that I wanted to beat on for the longest time. But there are some redeeming elements to the game, and I'm here to just give a full thoughts on it because it's certainly a little bit of both, rather than just being a completely bad game. One element that I really do like is the music. As you can hear, some very memorable Dragon Quest tracks from this game that definitely are kind of iconic Dragon Quest tracks. Not that some of them weren't used in the other games, but you know, just a thought there. The music's pretty good. Lot to go on there in terms of good. Lots of good tracks and lots of good stuff there. I think, I mean, it still looks pretty good. I mean, it's still lots of good-looking areas and whatnot. I mean, it's not that visually distinct, I wouldn't say. But there's a lot of cool enemies and whatnot. But overall, I enjoy the aesthetic of the game. Maybe it's not the most memorable aesthetic, but the character designs are also pretty iconic. As you can see, I have the guide there. You can see the character designs they're pretty good overall. So yeah, it's Terry in the back there. He's kind of one of the iconic ones there. I believe, wasn't he in the first Dragon Quest Monsters? Here, I'm not gonna wear this the whole time. The first Dragon Quest Monsters game, I think, had Terry as the protagonist or whatever of that game. So yeah, that's all the more reason to not like this game, because that game was terrible. So you know, maybe I'll get back to that one day. Not as terrible. It's just way too over grindy, but that's not what we're talking about. Actually, it's kind of a similar theme to what we'll be talking about later on in this review. But initially, I think that was my big problem with the game. I guess we'll get into some of the negatives now. I mean, I just want to say quickly before I start getting onto my rants or whatever, I guess we'll just go with the other few things that there is to talk about, like the story. The story is non-existent. There's a very, like, loosely thinned, it's more lore than story. It's like all about you and you losing your memory, and this, like, you're this prince or whatever. It's like, yeah, okay, it's like, but there's like this dream world and this not dream world that you like cross over through, and that's something I'll get into in the gameplay stuff, but that's like kind of the gimmick of the games. There's these two worlds like that, you know, and a lot of games can make that work, but it was just not done quite as well here. I mean, it's alright, but it's like, that's just all, that's basically, there's not very much characters or any of that kind of stuff, you know. Coming off of Dragon Quest V, it's a little disappointing in that regard. Very disappointing in that regard if you want to compare it to Dragon Quest V, but you know, it's not one of the series' more story-heavy focused ones, and I find that those tend to be the better ones for the most part. I mean, we'll see how 7 is coming up here next round of Dragon Quest, which is a really, really long game. That's another maybe little criticism I have of this game, is that it's just super long. Not super long, but like 50 hours. That's a lot of time to put in. And I probably spent like 10, 15, 20 of those hours grinding. Probably 20 hours. I don't know. That's probably accurate. just for something I'll talk about here in a minute. I guess we can just get into it. The plot wasn't very good, but you know, you don't really connect with the characters or anything too much. You know, there's little things to like about the characters. I like their character designs, and I think that's really what there is to like about them. There's not a lot of great dialogue or anything like that. There's little storylines. It feels more like a Dragon Quest IX or a Dragon Quest III sort of situation where it's like you go all around and you have little different stories throughout the game. It's like I can't get him to not sit here, but now he wants to come this way for whatever reason when I tried to put him there. He just wants to be in the limelight. You want to sit on my lap? Is that what you want? Nope, you just want to sit over there where I was trying to put you the whole time. Okay. This joys owning a cat there. He just wants to do it on his time. Anyway, so yeah, it's just a lot of those aspects that were very cool to the previous two games, the DS ones especially, the 5 and 4 there, which were great games, had good characters and good storylines and that kind of thing. Just don't really make a return appearance here. And even the music, I mean, there are iconic songs. Like, this is an iconic song from this game. But, like, you know, the previous two games had really iconic music as well. So it's like, I don't know. That's really what it comes down to, is it just doesn't hold up to when you compare it to the other games. But on its own, it's pretty solid, maybe. And it all comes down to the gameplay, and that's the main bulk of what this video I think is going to be about, is this gameplay. One thing that I want to mention is when I talked about this game initially, I feel like I don't know what it was. Like, was it sleep or was it confused or something? I said something in one of the videos before. Actually, I don't even think it was this game. I think it was Dragon Quest VII, so maybe that's not correct, but there was something that was bothering me, some kind of spell that I couldn't get past. And I think it was the sleep spell, because the final boss does use that. But you can just use Tinge and get rid of it for the whole party, so I don't know what I was complaining about too much there. But the final boss would have been very difficult had it not been for a new addition to this game, or a refined addition to this game, which is the main gimmick and the main strength and weakness of this game, is the Vocation System, which is basically just a glorified sort of job system, you know? Think Final Fantasy Tactics or 5 or whatever. I don't even think 5 did it that well, but Final Fantasy Tactics kind of thing. Advanced, by the way, just to throw that in there. I don't know much about Final Fantasy Tactics, the original, but I played some of it. But anyway, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, in that game, you master certain abilities, and it'll unlock other classes for you, depending on how many abilities of each thing you've mastered. And it's all based on how many times, I believe, that you use that ability. Or maybe it's just based on leveling up. I don't know. But anyway, this game has a similar system where you have jobs, and you have to level them 8 times to get them to be mastered. And then, based on which jobs you've mastered, let's say you master... the obvious example is like from Dragon Quest III, where you'd master... well, you didn't even have to master it in that game, but you just mage and then priest, and then you can do the sage. Well, no, actually, that's not even how that worked. The sage was just the mage and the priest. So, yeah. But it's similar to that. Because if you master mage and priest in this one, you can get the sage class. I was thinking of Dragon Quest III because I always have a cleric and a mage character, and then whenever I can do the sage, I just get them to be that. So, yeah. But anyway, you can do that. So you can unlock new classes and whatnot. So that's interesting. There's a lot of different ones. Only like a few of them are really super relevant. Here, let's go through the list because I have it up here. So the base classes are Warrior, Martial Artist, Mage, Priest, Dancer, which is a new one, Thief, Monster Master, which I didn't do, but that would have been an interesting one. I think you can like recruit monsters and stuff, much like in 5. Merchant, and Gadabout, which is the Jester or goof off class from the other games there. So you can see there's a lot of similar ones to Dragon Quest 3 there. And then so there's the Armamentalist, which you have to master the Warrior and the Mage to get that vocation. The Gladiator, which you have to master the Warrior and the Martial Artist to get that one. The Luminary, which you have to master the Dancer and the Gadabout to get that one. The Paladin, which you have to master Martial Artist and Priest in order to get that one. The Ranger, which you have to master Thief, Monster Master, and Merchant. And then the Sage, like I said, you got to master Mage and Priest. And then there's the Hero one, where if you master Gladiator, Sage, Ranger, and Luminary, which would take an insane amount of time, you'd be able to get that one. Which I'm trying to think what spells that would all teach you there. Let's actually look into that, because your main character can just have that one after mastering like Luminary or something like that. So you get a lot of the like Giga Slash and the Zap spells from that. It's really, other than Disruptive Wave, it's not really that great. It's not really worth putting in all the effort for, but that Disruptive Wave really came in handy on some of the bosses. That was great. You know, they always do it to you, so you just get to fucking do it back. And there was this thing that was on the Luminary called Song of Salvation. It's the final move you learn, and it's supposed to revive multiple party members, but it has a 50% chance. So it's basically just Zing, but a multi-Zing, maybe. It just sucks. It's not very good. But I was more hyped about that because I thought, like, oh, it's just going to revive all of my party members. Even if it was just at half health, I don't care. That's fine, but, you know, without fail. But that's not how it works at all. I mean, to master all the stuff to even get there in the first place would be, you know, be nice. Then there's 2 secret classes, the Dragon and the Liquid Metal Slime, which you kind of need, sort of like the books from Dragon Quest 3 to get to Sage. You sort of need the, these, like, things to unlock those classes. One of them you can find in the final dungeon. I don't know where you get the Liquid Metal Slime one or whatever. I think you have to, like, do one of the mini games to do that. One of the things I think I ragged on quite a bit in my initial thoughts on this game or whatever back in the day. I did this like games I've been playing video like back in 2012 or whatever when I was first playing this game or whatnot. And I really ranted into the game. So it'd be an interesting video to go back and kind of see what my thoughts were now that I've replayed the game. But I know one of my big complaints back then was there's this flying carpet thing that you need to get. You don't even need it until like the very end of the game, but you do need it to get to like on the track to get to the final boss or whatever. So, but you can basically avoid it up until then, but they lock it behind this fashion show system thing where you basically just have to, each of your items has like style points and you can like upgrade that and stuff. They made this a mandatory part of the game, this style system, which kind of sucks, but also it's the only way to get the Sage Stone. So really, at the end of the day, either get used to it or suck, because that's how it just is. You only have to beat 3 levels of it to get the flying carpet thing there, but it really kind of wasn't something I was very interested in back in the day. Nowadays, I think it's kind of interesting because I liked trying to like figure out how do I get all the best equipment. You know, in the guide it tells you how to, like, what equipment all goes together to make, like, you get bonuses for certain stuff. I thought that was kind of fun, like trying to figure that all out. So I kind of spent one of my nights while playing this game trying to figure that all out so I could just get through as many of them as possible. And then eventually I did beat it all the way to level 7. The 8th level, which is the final level, has the magic hat, which restores like your MP while you're walking around, but like I didn't, it was like just an insane threshold of like points that I would need, and I didn't really see any value in that. I really just wanted to get the Sage Stone, but it does kind of suck that they locked the Sage Stone, which is a iconic item for Dragon Quest, or it should be anyway, because it's a very important item, I should say. I didn't realize the importance of the Sage Stone until like fucking this set of run through this shit. I knew about it from Dragon Quest 8, and that's like the only place I knew about it from, but this is like a staple item going back to like the 3rd game there, and it was really essential in that game and every game since then, and especially near the end of the game. It always comes in super handy because it's a free multi-heal every turn, so you give it to your healer and they'll just heal. So I'm a big fan of the Sage Stone, and the fact that they locked it behind that system could be problematic, and it definitely was problematic to my younger self, but I didn't know about the Sage Stone back then as much, so, or care or whatever, so I probably didn't get it back in the day. I probably just invested the time to get the flying carpet thing and then moved on. But yeah, so basically, that was kind of a downer that they locked it behind there back in the day for me. I don't really find that as much of a problem now, but it is kind of odd that they would force you to do that mini game in that system, which can also be seen as forcing you to grind, because there's a forge where they can forge your items to have more style points or whatever. And so they're super expensive though, some of them. So it's like, you know, it's just more grinding, which we'll get into here in a second. Because it's just, that's a lot of what this game's all about. So, yeah. So that was like odd that they made you do that. But the main gimmick and thing of this game is this vocation system. And to level up those vocations, you have to not level up your character. That's not how you level up your vocations, by getting experience like you would think would be how it would work, like it has in every other Dragon Quest game. But they took a different approach here, and in a way it's a good thing. I like that it's not just leveling up, because that is tedious, and especially taking you back to level 1 like it did in Dragon Quest 3, and then later on in Dragon Quest 9 they did a kind of similar system with their classes, which all weren't very like important to do. But in this game, literally you don't learn any moves pretty much. I'm pretty sure you don't learn any moves outside of using this job system. So figure it out or die. And that was my problem back in the day, is I didn't want anything to do with the job system, and I found out way too late at the end of the game that I really had needed to use the job system the whole time. And so, and to unlock further classes and whatnot. And so that constituted 2 months or something like that of grinding excessively to finally make that a thing, and so I could beat the final boss, which I spent so many attempts on back in the day, and I could see why. It's actually a pretty challenging final boss because he does so much damage. But that was like one of the most infamous parts of this game for me, was that final boss. And a lot of the bosses in this game are kind of annoying. I definitely yelled, "Oh, fuck off!" like multiple times throughout different bosses, because they just would do these things that really sucked, you know? And just maybe kill all my party members, or just wipe out all my stuff, you know, all my oomps and kabuffs and whatever that I put on my party, you know, with the disruptive wave, or just I was about to heal everyone and then it like they killed me or something like that. Oh yeah, and by the way, Song of Salvation takes 2 turns to cast for a 50% probability that it'll revive maybe somebody. Not even guaranteed that it'll revive somebody. So it's kind of a terrible move. They really shouldn't have kept it that way. So, alright, so you have to do a lot of grinding to get these jobs up. So there's 8 levels for each vocation. Alright, no big deal, right? We'll just grind easy enemies at the beginning of the game. You know, no big deal, right? That's what I did. I thought, okay, we have to grind a certain amount of any fights. Fights is how they do the metric here. It's not about experience, it's about how many fights. For instance, for the earlier classes, it takes 180 fights to master mage, and it takes 160 fights to master priest, which I did for every character at the very end of the game here because of my first attempt at the final boss where most of my characters died on the final form there, and nobody could revive them because nobody knew any of the revive spells. So I'm like, well, fuck it. Everyone's gonna master priest, which only gets you zing. It doesn't get you cuzzing. If you want cuzzing, you have to pretty much master most of sage, meaning you have to master most of mage. You have to master all of mage, all of priest, and a lot of sage. So not only 160 battles for priest, 180 battles for mage, and then probably another 100-something battles to get, you know, most of the way through sage. Maybe 200 battles. I don't remember how many battles does it take to get through sage. Let's find out actually. Let's do this in real time here. Let's look at this. Where is there it is, sage. So not only do you have to master those first two, you know, combining to be like what, like over 300 battles that you'd have to do. Then Kazing is all the way at level 6 out of 8 for Sage, meaning you have to do an additional 150 battles. So that's like 500 battles, maybe more than that. I don't know. That's just a rough thing there. Here, I guess let's not be wrong on the math here. Plus 180 plus 150. 490. I said 500. That was a pretty good guess. 490 battles that you have to do just to get to Kazing, which just to get to is like, that's, you know, I'm not saying that's not a great thing to get. Obviously, that's the whole point of what I wanted to get Kazing, but it's locked behind all of this stuff, and that's not even really the worst part. If it was 490 battles, like I said, I'd go to the beginning starting area and do those 490 battles. I did 200 battles in the starting area. But that doesn't work, because there is a beautiful little thing called the level cap system in this game. So every area in this game has a level cap. So by the time you get to All Trades Abbey, you're about maybe like 2/5 of the way through the game or something like that, let's say. You're probably like level 20 or like level in your mid to high teens on your levels there. Well, the starting area has a level cap of 5. Okay, great. So the areas around All Trades Abbey should be able to let you level up, right? Nope, they're like less than 15 or 15 max. So by the time I got there and had already done a bunch of grinding in order to beat the stuff to get there, because some of the bosses before that were kind of tough, I had already leveled up too far to be able to level my vocations very well. So the first real area I got to where I could do that was like there's like a decoy final boss. Like, it's like this, you go to this castle at the beginning of the story, and then like midway, or like, I don't know, like 3/5 of the way, I don't know, little bit of a way into the game, you go and fight this enemy who you think is the final boss or whatever, but he's not. It's probably like 2/5 of the way through the game. It's like right after All Trades Abbey or whatever. Or actually, it's right before All Trades Abbey, I believe. Yeah, that's what it is, because then you could go there after that. So you fight this, I think that's how that is anyway. I could probably just look this up. You fight this guy, right? In his castle, Murdaw's Keep, lets you level up to 35. That's, or something like that. I don't know if it was 35. It might have been like 25 or something like that. But anyway, so you get a good, yep, All Trades Abbey. There it is, right after the boss fight. I knew it. All right. So you get a good cushion of, I probably was like level 20. I had like 5 or so levels to just grind through, to just do as many battles as possible on this like one floor where you can actually encounter enemies in his castle there. So as soon as I unlocked All Trades Abbey, because I have a list. There's like a list of like all the level caps for the areas on this site that I was using. And that one just happened to be one that I could do. That was like the only place I could go and grind any amount of levels at that point, as I had unlocked All Trades Abbey, without progressing the story a bunch and, you know, feasibly getting a bunch of more experience to where I'd just be fucked and wouldn't be able to really get it. That seemed like the highest level cap I was going to get for a while in any area. So, thumbs up, you know? I grinded there for hours and hours and hours until I hit the level that was the level cap there. And I got my vocations up. I think I mastered basically my first set of each class. If not more than that, or maybe just a little bit less than that. But, like, cool. Like, I did it. You know, I finally had gotten somewhere with my leveling stuff. Well, so because I did that, because I was just overpowered anyway, I wasn't able to do any more leveling like that for like a really long time. Just a little bit here and there, and some of my weaker characters that I picked up along the way could level up and stuff, so that's all good. But, you know, it was really spotty to leveling up my vocation system, because you're leveling up, your levels are actually detrimental. You do not want to level up for this very reason, and you can tell exactly why, because the vocations are everything in this game. Leveling up does shit for you other than ups your stats a bit. Which, like, so what? Like, fuck that. Who cares? Like, it's important, but, like, you don't learn any moves by leveling up. You learn moves by doing these vocations, which are often locked away behind this level cap thing. So, and I'll just say it. The worst part of this is that in the iOS version, the version I didn't want to play because I have the expensive DS version. I have that. Why the fuck would I not just play that version? In the iOS version, they've raised the level cap 10 levels for every area, so you never probably have to worry about this, like, ever. And I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? My version's the fucking inferior one. Now I don't want to play the iOS version. I want to play the DS one. God damn it, you know? So that's the big icing on top of the cake, is I was playing the wrong version the whole time. So if you're gonna play Dragon Quest VI, play the iOS version. I think that's gonna do you better, or the mobile version or whatnot. But so finally, like, maybe 3/5 of the way into the game, it's a long ways after the All Trades Abbey part, you get to this place called the Spiegel Spire, or something like that. It's this tall tower building. And the level cap is 99. Meaning you can finally grind as much as you want. You better bet your ass. I fucking sat there and grinded out basically all of my vocations at that point. For the most part. And just like, I think once I had done my second round of vocations to unlock the further classes, I'm just like, fuck it. From here on, the level cap stuff is probably fine. Or maybe I even did those extra ones, you know, I don't know. I spent a long time in Spiegel Spire just leveling up, like, for a long time there. And then the only other, like, big grind session that I had was at the end of the game, where, and I actually, I just went back to Spiegel Spire because the enemies were a lot easier to take down, and it went a lot faster. Also, I was playing 90% of the game with the text at 3 for out of 5. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 is the fastest. speed of text in battle, and I thought I had changed that because I know I changed that in the other games, but nope, I was playing the whole. I could have probably saved like 5 or so hours there of just that, you know. Maybe that's dramatic. I don't know. At least a few hours I could have saved by just doing that. So pro tip, increase the battle text speed a lot, and that'll help dramatically. So dramatically it'll help, especially while grinding. So I spent another 2 hours today just grinding out the priest vocation for all of my party members there that didn't already know it, and for the ones that did, the ones that were sages I really didn't do much with, but the ones that did know the priest one and weren't sages, I put them on the mage class, which was only like one, I think it was by Slime Knight. There did that. So yeah. So anyway, and I even put my 2 main characters, JZ, myself, you know, the player character, and Carter, who's basically your damage dealer guy. Like, that's the thing, like, each character is kind of built to be one of the classes, you know, but like, you can technically customize them as much as you want. Carter's not really meant to be like a magic user, but I just had him learn like all of Priest to learn Zing anyway, just so I could revive myself in case it was necessary. It was kind of overkill to put the whole party to do it, but if I was going to do it for one, there's no point in not putting the whole party on a system of learning Zing, because if one person in the party does, you know, 400 battles or whatever, everyone has done 400 battles, so everyone was going to learn it, you know. By my metric, I was just like, fuck it. Anybody who doesn't know Zing is just going to learn it, and that's going to be it, and they're all going to know it. I didn't even need it in the final battle anyway. All that grinding ended up just being the key to my success. Basically, I got my ass kicked on the final, but not my ass kicked. I got my ass handed to me on the final part of the final boss, because I had not wasted, but I had invested all my resources to the earlier parts of the fight, even with the Sage Stone, which I can't imagine I had back in the day. Maybe I had it. If I had it back in the day, that was due to me like being smart and actually having got that. And I don't know, man, because like that, I just remember this being like one of the harder final bosses, and it really was a hard final boss. It's a good final boss as well. The first form is just so that's my problems with the leveling system, by the way, right there. I'm just going to talk about the final boss for a second. We'll get back to that. The first form of the final boss is like a heavy magic user. So fireball and ice spells. You got to cast Insulate or you're fucked. And luckily, I don't think he can use the Disruptive Wave. I think it's only the final form of him that can use Disruptive Wave. Maybe he can. I don't remember. But you gotta cast Insulate. Like, fuck, man. Like, that guy's damage is just insane. And he can hit, like, multiple parts of your party. The guide says, like, oh, it's not that bad. He's probably the easiest one. I disagree. That part is brutal. The second part around, he's much more of a damage dealer. And he only kind of does some damage. And it's really not as bad, the second part. He could still do a significant amount of damage, but I never found it that difficult on the second part. But the third part, he's got 2 hands and a head. Now, back in the day, what I used to do was try to defeat the head, but the hands can revive the head. I didn't know that back in the day, and I had to kind of figure that out myself. And then I read in the guide, like shit, the hands can revive the head, so you gotta defeat the... I didn't have the attention span to read, like, let's see. I'll show you the thing here. Like that much text on this page here with my hand. I didn't have the attention span to read all that apparently back in the day. Telling me to kill the hands before the head. But I eventually figured that out. And, I didn't want to use the guide for everything, but, this was a game that back in the day I definitely just, like, at some point gave up caring and started using the guide, like, religiously. And I was so fucking bored and uninvested by the end that I just wanted to finish the game. And it was one of the last... It was literally at the time, the last Dragon Quest game that I had to finish, I think 9, well, when did 9 come out? It's like 2000. Okay, so is this a 9 that I had to finish, and I wanted to finish this before 9. So, yeah. Sort of similar to how I wanted to finish 9 before I played 11 more recently, but I didn't do that. I played 11 and then 9, so... But anyway. So, yeah, so... back in the day, I got my ass kicked by that boss. Eventually I figured out which hand I had to kill first, or that you had to try to kill the hands at the same time, is what the guide suggests. I don't really recommend doing that much. Because if you kill the left hand, he's the one that can use Zing. The right hand can use Zing, but hilariously, it's as bad as my Zing ever was, because it failed like 2 or 3 times. I saw it like, and it's cool because it has a little animation of like the hand, like the ghostly hand, like just floating by as the Zing fails. I thought that was really cool. But anyway, as long as you kill the hands, and you gotta kill the hands because they can revive the head. Then, as soon as you kill the hands, the head's no problem, as long as you have a decent healing system there. The guide recommends putting in 3 damage dealers against, like, the earlier parts. Like, maybe that's a good idea, but, like, I always found that the extra healing was, might as well guarantee your victory and not, like, might as well overkill it rather than, like, slow and steady wins the race, not the fucking damage dealers who are probably going to die, and then you're going to have to do the whole battle again. There's this thing called the Sands of Time, which I guarantee you I used a million times back in the day to try to beat this boss. I actually remember this. I actually remember using that a bunch of times back in the day, and I never used it once on this playthrough. I really should have that first time I was failing, but I think JZ, who had the Sands of Time, was already dead at that point. Or he was damn close, and I was putting all my stock in that Song of Salvation, which fucking sucked, so, what do you do? But, yeah, so back in the day, it was a little harder for me. This time around, like, it was a tense battle, and I really appreciated that. I appreciated that challenge. And as soon as I got to the head, I'm like, I win, basically, right? But the head also, like, it's not that he caused that much of a problem, but I was like, he can't even cast Disruptive Wave, so I just built up my defenses and my oomphs again and stuff. And then, like a few turns before the end, he casts Disruptive Wave, and I'm like, oh shit, dude, he does have Disruptive Wave, so I just built my stuff up again, but I just thought that was interesting, that he had that. But yeah, and then, because the guide recommends, as soon as you get to that part, that you switch into Ashlyn to use the Magic Burst move that she learns, which just basically drains all of her MP, to do a big attack or whatever. And, I was hesitant on doing that because, and I think this is how it went back in the day too, I was hesitant on using that. But I also did use that. I remember doing that back in the day because the guide recommends that. It's a very similar experience because I'm following the guide. But, the Magic Burst ability, I would always do that. I think I would do that to actually try to kill the hands, back in the day faster because I was underpowered or whatever. But, yeah, but anyway, so the Magic Burst ability, it drains all of her MP, and I was kind of hesitant to do that because she was one of my better healers. Nice thing about this game, I will give this game tons of credit for this. In the other games, you are generally very limited to who you can use and whose moves you can use and whatnot. I think maybe you could have done it. I think in Dragon Quest V they have it to where you can do that. I think in Dragon Quest IV they were really stingy about it, but basically whoever's in the wagon, and if the wagon's not there to be there, you can't usually use those characters to your advantage. But in this game, they allow you to use those characters to your advantage by letting them heal the party and use stuff like evac and zoom and stuff. So Ashlyn was just basically my healer for the longest time. I had her learn the whole Sage and, all that so she could get multi-heal. And think about that. Anybody can learn multi-heal in this game. It just takes forever. I think it's part of Sage to get multi-heal. Yep, multi-heal is level 5 Sage. That's crazy. That's insane. So yeah, it's pretty high up there. And by that point, you're almost at Zing. But because she had multi-heal and Kazing, I would just use that after battles, and it wouldn't waste any of my party's MP. My main party, who was JZ, Carver, Millie, and whatever the fuck that guy's name is, the Nevin, that's his name. That was my main party, so I would just use them, and I didn't really switch out at all. You know, that's kind of what I do in all these games. Like, I should have probably switched out every now and again, but your party gains experience in the wagon too, so that's nice. But and it works on their vocations and whatnot, so any amount of battles will transfer over to them as long as they're not dead, I guess, in order to make that happen. So that's nice. That's at least good. But yeah, so yeah, she was basically my healer the whole time, and I didn't have to waste my party's MP, and I thought that was great. Even when the wagon wasn't with me in dungeons and stuff, I could still use that. And I didn't really use the switch out system even when I could in this game. They really didn't have that many opportunities to do it outside of the final boss. Again, you know, it's a mechanic you think they would have used a little bit more, but I didn't. When I could have, I didn't really use it either, so that's on me as well. But I just really focused on my main party there and building them up to be the best. And then my side characters, I would build them up to be the best on the side, you know, basically. So, but Ashlyn was important because she was like a big main healer, was my point. So it's nice that you're able to do that. It made the game a lot more enjoyable, a lot more comfortable. So props to them for that. But yeah, I think that a lot of the boss fights were kind of, like I said, pretty tough. And some of them are pretty satisfying, but some of them are just kind of annoying. A lot of them have weird moves and stuff. Back in the day, like I said, I think I got sleep put on me a lot. But, you know, it's curable. I mean, I had to have known back then, right? That Tinge, because, like, Tinge can't be that far into... Yeah, it's like level 4 on the priest class. Unless I didn't have a priest class. I had to have had one back then. I knew how this shit worked, kind of vaguely, because I played Dragon Quest 3. So, here's my thing about this vocation system. Like I was saying, you've heard all the negatives and positives. I slipped some positives in there too. I like the concept of this vocation system because it's very much a better system than Dragon Quest 3 and Dragon Quest 9. I think that it's good. It's just this level cap thing is ridiculous. And I get that they didn't want you to be overpowered or whatever, but does it really matter? You know, does it really matter? You're keeping the integrity of your game behind artificial roadblocks. Like, man, if I put in that effort, just let me put in that effort. Now, I get it. You don't want people going back to the beginning of the game and just grinding or whatever. So the level, this is what I'm saying. But like, it's a well thought out thing. But I feel like that kind of stuff is just like a band-aid to like fix the fact that they don't want you to just go back to the beginning of the game to grind out a bunch of battles. But that's only a thing because you have to grind battles numerically. Like the quantity of battles is more important than the quality of the battle. So they shot themselves in the foot. It's just constant cycle of all these decisions making it more difficult than it needs to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, but believe it or not, even though it's a flawed system, I like the system. It's probably my favorite aspect of the game, but it's also the aspect I want to complain the most about. You know? Like, that just shows you what this game is in general to me. I want to like this game, but so many things just drag it down to where it's like all these little things build themselves up to be, like, not as impressive as some of the other Dragon Quest games. And that's what it really just comes down to, is that there's so much potential here that they just never capitalize on. And that's the sad part. Like, I this time around, I don't think the game is like as bad as I used to think it was. I used to put it, you know, really bottom tier with some of my least favorite games kind of thing. And I always used to talk shit about it. I don't really think like that anymore. I still think the game has massive flaws that I've discussed with the vocation system and whatnot, and the fact that there's not really a great story or memorable characters or anything like that. But there's a lot of aspects that I like about it too, you know? It's just like, I don't know. It's such a mixed bag of a Dragon Quest game, and it's just like... But my point was, I kind of like the vocation system. I think that's cool. I like the idea of that. And they did it again in Dragon Quest VII, and it probably sucked even worse there. So this is, by all accounts, the best version of this vocation system or this class system that we're ever gonna get. The major flaw with Dragon Quest VII, I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but the major flaw with Dragon Quest VII is grinding way too much. And that's the major flaw of this game too, is there's so much grinding. But at least here, it's just based on a quantity or whatever, so it's like I don't necessarily have to grind all of these like bigger enemies or whatever. I can just grind like the smaller enemies at the Spiegelspire, and that's just gonna be it, you know? But at the same token, why should I have to grind all of those enemies? Because I want those moves, but like, you know, the point is like, shouldn't I just be able to do that throughout the game and not have to worry about grinding all those enemies? Like, I fought plenty of enemies throughout the game. If the level caps hadn't been so bad, then I think it would have fixed the system. And then, you know, then it's like, I fucked up because I played the DS version and not the iOS version where the level caps are fixed. So, yeah, maybe that version's great, you know? But it's like, then why have them there to begin with, right? It's a constant vicious cycle of like, it's such a hard problem to fix, and I don't know how they would fix it, but it's just like, man, that's not my job to figure that shit out, you know? Like, I don't know. I just want the game to be good, and the game is not great, but it's not terrible. It just has a lot of little things that drag it down. Like, there were times where I was definitely having a lot of fun, and then there were times where I was sitting there grinding for how many hours. But you know, at the same token, I kind of like grinding sometimes. This was a very tedious grind, so I don't know if this was necessarily my favorite Dragon Quest to grind in. Mostly the other Dragon Quests, you didn't really have to grind quite as much. I just think like maybe 200 battles or whatever is a little excessive, and 400 or whatever for some of the like more incredible classes or whatever. And like that's the other thing, like a lot of the classes like the Ranger and stuff, they don't really have like any good moves as far as I can tell that you would even like care to put in all the effort to like to even go for that. Even the Paladin class is like so underwhelming. So I think that's another problem. It's just the fact that it wasn't just, there wasn't enough to some of these classes to like get you to do it. You got Holy Protection, which wards away weaker monsters. Okay, Venom Mist could okay, it's got Safe Passage. Like some of these are good moves, but I'm not gonna master fucking what is it, like Merchant, Thief, and Monster Master just to get like Safe Passage. I'll just step on the ground and heal myself with my fucking badass priest, you know, at that point, you know? That's what I'm saying. It's just like, there's not a lot to it. Actually, I will give them credit. Each class kind of has a gimmick too. Like, I was just looking at the Paladin there, and actually, like the Martial Artist has a higher percentage chance of getting a crit the farther you master the thing. The Sage class actually reduces the amount of MP. I could cast Kabuff for like 1 MP by the end of the game, and Insulate for what was 1 MP. Full Heal was 3 MP. Multi-Heal was 10 MP. Like that's how awesome that was. You know, I had like 200 MP total, so it's like, it's a lot, you know? So yeah, for the Paladin, it's like a slay rate. I wonder what the Ranger one is. What's, flee rate. So if you master pal or ranger, I guess you have 100% flee rate if you want that. So I guess that's kind of cool, but it's just it doesn't seem very necessary, you know, to like go and master that. So like even some of these jobs, like most of the jobs just don't seem like they're worth it. Let's look at these like um let's look at these. Oh, fucking okay. Something I want to mention. All right. Sorry, sidetrack here. There's a lot of additional and optional characters in this game that you can pick up. One of the characters, you have to go on this side quest, and if you go and talk to him at the wrong time, he just won't join you or something like that. I got the seed that he needs to like get better, but because I talked to him at the wrong time, he didn't want to join me. So I think that's really stupid. I didn't like that at all. But I did that back in the day too, even though the guy told me not to. So I never got that guy, but whatever. So fuck that. But anyway, shock rate. I wonder what that means. So the dragon has a shock rate. It's 200% until like the later when it gets 300 and 400%. I don't know what shock rate is, but I guess that's something. See, it's all just like the like flame breath and like chilly breath and cold breath. It's like, really, is that worth going to get this dragon class about? Like that's like a super hard class to get, you know? The liquid metal slime class, you can get a liquid metal slime to join you somehow. I think you maybe have to do the post game for that. There is a post game. But even here, it's like, there's no good moves that you can't learn in any other class, like Zoom and Magic Burst. You can't learn Magic Burst with just anybody, but I'm just saying, like, Big Bang, these are moves that, Big Bang maybe not, but these are moves that you can learn in other classes. So, what's the, liquid metal? It doesn't have a thing. Wow, it doesn't have, like, each percentage thing or whatever. Oh, that's dumb. Okay, so, yeah, like, that one's kind of worthless. I know it's more probably about the stats, because your stats kind of change. So that one would probably have like a really high defense or something. The dragon one's probably like really high attack and defense or something like that. They're really good probably for your stats, but that's probably it. As far as I can tell, like all those moves kind of suck. It's not worth putting in all that time and doing all those battles for that. You know, so it's just like a lot of these classes just kind of suck and there's not a lot to them. And even the later classes don't really have a lot going on. They have like little things that might be worth it to somebody. And it's nice that they have this for a variety, but it's just like, who's going to use some of these classes? You know, there's obviously still the best classes that you're going to want to use, kind of thing. So I don't know, it's just, that's what I'm talking about. Like, these classes could have been awesome. Each one of those could have been a fucking amazing class, and then there would be no missed potential here. But maybe those are amazing for somebody who wants to play the game a different way. I don't know. I'm just saying, that's my thoughts on it. It's like, the classes aren't that interesting to me, so I don't feel very invested in grinding for some of those other classes. But a lot of them, like the Sage one, definitely mastering Priest and Mage. If I were to play this game again, first thing I'd do, as soon as I got to All Trades Abbey, everyone masters the Priest thing immediately. You know, that's what they all do. That way they all get it. Maybe I should make everyone a Sage, you know? That way they all have Kazing, and they can all just do that. And that would take forever, but that's my point, is like, that's basically the optimal way to do it, you know? You just get everyone to be a healer, and then you're just fucking totally wrecking shit. But it's like, you're gonna need a damage dealer while you're doing that, so I don't know. It's all up to you. It's nice that there's some variety there. A lot like I said in my Dragon Quest III review. It's nice that one, it really inhibits you from having that variety, though. This is a lot easier than grinding through how many levels to get yourself back up. So I do like that, but you know, I've talked it to death about this Vocation System. It's just so back and forth, whether it's good or not. There's lots of good elements, there's lots of bad elements to it. And even the bad elements are kind of good in some ways. It's just very confusing to know how I feel on that system. I like it and I don't like it at the same time. There's lots to just, it's very much a double-edged sword or whatever, so I don't know. But that's the main thing I wanted to talk about with the game, is that, because it's like, that's my main thing I take away from this game, because there's not a lot to talk about with the story. The music is really good, like I said. Maybe not as memorable as some of the other soundtracks, but it's still a lot of memorable tracks in this game. One thing I could say about it is it's not 100 hours, it's 50 hours if you want to grind a little bit for your classes, which you kind of need to do. Um, so I don't feel like a lot of that time was wasted like I feel like I'm going to feel like about Dragon Warrior or Dragon Quest 7 there. Because 50 hours of my 100 hour quest last time was grinding on the PS1 there. And the game, How Long to Beat, still says that the game is 100 hours. So, on the 3DS there, so did they not fix that? Or, like, what? You know, like, they couldn't just made it a little bit easier. That was my whole problem with that game, and I hope that they fix that. And there was some move that I think it was maybe confusion or something, or sleep, like you can't get tinge or whatever for some reason. I don't remember what the deal was, but there was something like that really annoyed me about the PS1 version, where it was like locked away behind some crazy class. I don't know how the vocation class system works in Dragon Quest 7, but they do have that in that game, so it'll be interesting to compare that again. I haven't played that game in years, so fuck. Overall, I think Dragon Quest 6 is a good game, but as a Dragon Quest game, it's not very great compared to the rest of the Dragon Quest games. You ask me to start with any Dragon Quest game, and I'm going to tell you 8, 5, maybe 11. Like, that's a really easy jumping in point that a lot of people want to start with, or, something like that, or 4 maybe. Those are the ones I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you to start with 6 or 9 or 7, for fuck's sake, 100 hours. If you're going to spend 100 hours into one of the Dragon Quest games, I would say definitely put it into 8, because that is the one that you want to put your time into. Yeah, so this isn't the one you start with. This is... that was the thing I was going to say at the beginning of the review, what was it? Get your fix in Dragon Quest 6 or whatever. So, like, because that's basically all it is. It's just another Dragon Quest game, but it feels like a really generic version of a Dragon Quest game in a lot of elements. In a lot of elements, it's kind of good. I don't want to rag on the game too much. I want the game to be something that I like. There was just so many problems with it. I'm not trying to be negative. Usually when I don't like a game, I want to be negative. Like Remember Me, or fucking Final Fantasy 13. We do Final Fantasy 13 on this channel, I'm gonna lay into that shit, because apparently people like that game now. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Everyone hated that game, now people like it for some reason. I don't get it. The game still sucks. The game is still the worst fucking game. So if we ever play that on here, I'll definitely lay into it quite a bit. But this is one that it's so tough. I'm glad that it's not one that I didn't finish, so I would have to classify it as a gem or a dud, because I don't know where to put it. It's not either. It's right in the middle. It's like in the backlog, Like, I had fun playing a lot of it, and I liked having it as a grind game on the side. But it's maybe a little too long for its own good, and there's a lot of parts that really don't do anything for me as much. It's just a lot of generic towns and dungeons and whatever, so it's like, okay, cool, we're just going through this dungeon now, we're going through this town, so it's definitely not a top tier Dragon Quest game, but I don't know, man, maybe it's better than 7. I don't know. The length is going to be the main thing for me for 7. We're going to see. It's hard to say. I don't want to call it the worst Dragon Quest game. That's so hard to say. I don't know. It's kind of down there with 9, as in contention. One of those is worse. I want to give 6 the edge for its better job system and whatnot. I think that's fair. I think I'm going to put 9 as the least one at the moment, even though in that review I said that was also a good game. And I still do think that is a good game. I just had a lot of problems with that one too, especially story-wise and whatnot. There wasn't a lot going on there. There's a lot of good elements to 9 as well, but it doesn't stand out quite as much. So yeah, it's kind of like Zelda, other than Skyward Sword. God damn it. Even that I have to hold my tongue on, because fuck, I mean, they did the re-release, the HD version or whatever, so we'll get there. We'll talk about it at some point. We'll see if that holds up or gets the light any better. God, it sucks, because it's like, now that they're doing all these re-releases, they're trying to fix all these bad games, it's like, now I can't complain. Now I can't have any bad games on my radar, right? Like, it's like, Dragon Quest 6 I used to think was a bad game. Now it's not anymore. Now it's decent, you know? I don't want to be like that. It's like, I want there to still be bad games out there. But I'm a much more experienced gamer now, too, so I kind of know what to expect from a lot of this stuff, so. Yeah, so. I don't know. Play it for yourself, maybe, once you've played all the other Dragon Quest games. Don't play it right away. Play the iOS version if you're going to play it. Plus the DS version's super expensive anyway, so don't play that one. Yeah, I'm going to give it... I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think that is fair. You know, it'd be somewhere between a 7 and a 7.5 out of 10. Somewhere in there for a score, because 7 is kind of like my, yeah, this is a pretty good game kind of metric. This game certainly doesn't deserve anywhere at a 6. It's not like boring or generic. I said that it's tedious, but I was willing to put up with the tedium because I like the job system in a lot of regards. So I like what it gets you. I like that eventually I'm going to learn these badass moves. There's actually a payoff to the job system. That's nice, you know, like, I think that's one of the big things that keeps me coming back to it, and liking that system, even though the mechanics around it and how to progress is so tedious. And it is so obtuse with this level cap system, which only really bugs you for, like, the first half of the game for some reason. It's just really weird, is what I'm trying to say. Oh, there goes the game. So yeah, I'm gonna give it 7.5 or somewhere in between there and a 7 out of 10. Wow, it's rated T for teen. I didn't notice that actually. Is Dragon Quest 5 rated T for teen? I gotta see that actually. No, it's an E10 plus. Wow, this is T for some reason. That's weird. This isn't even that dark of a game. That's like, oh yeah, this came out in 2011, by the way. Isn't that crazy? Like, shit. I fucking graduated that year. That was 10 years ago. This game came out 10 years ago. But it should have came out longer, goes my point. Like, it feels like, oh, this is like the one Dragon Quest game we didn't get for like years and years and years. Like we had 5 and a whole bunch of the other one. Well, we didn't have 5 yet. Yeah, we did have that. We had that on the DS. You know, 4 came out on the NES. So 7 we got on PlayStation. We didn't have 5, but then 5 like came out, and then we were just waiting for this one. That was the last one. Those are the last 2 Dragon Quest games like we never got, and then we eventually did get them. So this was kind of the last one. So this was one that a lot of people were looking forward to. Maybe I was just a little too hyped back in the day or whatever, and that's why I gave it such harsh criticisms. But I feel like a lot of those harsh criticisms are still going to probably stand when I go back and look at that video and like try to figure out what I was talking about. A lot of it was going to be about the job system, I guarantee it. So, but yeah, it's a half and half kind of situation, you know. There's a lot to like and there's a lot to rag on about it. It'd be even harder if like there was a great story and characters and like great world design and whatnot. Oh, I never even talked about that. There's a mechanic where you kind of switch between worlds. There's a dream world and a real world. All right, cool, right? I could never remember for the life of me which one was the dream world and which one was the real world. And then I'd always like look at these maps. a little simple text thing on your map screen. Like there's like you're playing on one of the screens and then whatever the other, I think it's like the top screen's the map screen. Just put Dream World or Real World in the corner. You know, and if you don't want to spoil that early on, just like fucking write it down, like put it on there later or whatever. Like come on. Like I always got confused which world I was in, you know? It's like the guy would be like, "Okay, go to the Dream World, to go to this location." I'm like, "Am I in the Dream World? I don't remember." There's these wells all over the world that like switch worlds for you. I don't know why wells, but that's just the way it is. Um, and they do a lot of interesting little things with that mechanic, and I kind of like that. And it's neat, but it's just like, oh god. And then I'm glad I'm remembering all this right now. The um, the harp that lets you go underwater. Yeah, you can go underwater with your boat in this game, which is pretty unique to this game. I don't think they really have done that in any of the other Dragon Quest games. The harp that lets you go underwater has like a 10, 15 second like a little jingle and a thing that it does like whenever you activate it. Like do that the first time. It's like the Wind Waker thing. Like do that the first time, and then whenever I use it after that, like, or why can't it, fuck, why can't I just press a button, you know, to have this happen? Why does it have to be an item? I have to go into my menu to do it every time. Isn't that what everyone hates about the water temple from Zelda, right? That's kind of what it feels like a little bit. Maybe not that bad, but I'm just saying, like, that's what I'm talking about. Stuff like that. But you have to watch this little animation it's not even an animation, you just listen to this little jingle play every time. So if you have the sound off, you're literally just sitting there waiting for like 10 or 15 seconds just like for the boat to go down every time you use this goddamn thing. And you have to go underwater a lot. There's a lot to see down there, you know? But like, I don't know, like stuff like that really bothers me. Yeah, you know what? This game's a 0 out of 10. No, I'm just kidding. I stand by it. Probably like a 7 out of 10. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Just flat 7 out of 10. You know? Little things like that annoy me. I'm glad I've mentioned those though. But yeah, it's a, I know, I keep complaining, but it's a fine game in a lot of regards. There's a lot of good things to like, but there's a lot of things that drag it down, you know? And those are the things that I want to talk about, because those are the interesting things, is its failures, rather more so than its successes. Because its successes are just the things that every other Dragon Quest gets right, you know? It's just that it's this same typical RPG stuff, and it's just that comforting turn-based RPG style, and they didn't really add a whole lot as a gimmick other than this vocation system. And then that's where you start getting into the flaws and the good things. So it's like, it's just back and forth. Anyway, Dragon Quest 6, better than I remember, but also, you know, like I said, still frustrating in some regards. So, till next time, JZNES, and keep classics stick around for more reviews on underrated games, and I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ, out.